All right, I get it. You've heard a bunch of people online, including me, talk to you about the importance of live plants and all the benefits they have for an aquarium, and you've thought, I'd really love to do that, but all the plants I've tried have just died within a week. I really don't want to fool with it. 2 years ago, I would have said the same thing, but for me, it was a matter of finding the right plants from the right provider. And that's when Tropica stepped in. Lisa and I started using Tropica plants in our tanks 2 years ago and had great success. So much, in fact, almost a year ago, we started selling their plants on our website. Let me tell you, y'all bought them up. Now listen to me very carefully. I am not about to do a 20-minute long commercial about the plants that we sell. All of the plants that I'm about to talk about are available from other companies too, and I'm sure they're just as good. But for me, I haven't had success with them until I found Tropica. So there you go. If you see plants in this video that you like and you want to order them from me, great. But if you don't want to order them from me and you want to order them from somewhere else, that's fine too. I ain't gonna be mad at you. Oh, and by the way, it has to be mentioned, I might say some of the names of these plants wrong. Don't come down too hard on me. I mean, seriously, what am I, a Latin expert? Taxiphyllum, or Java moss, as most people will call it, is almost like a weed in your aquarium. And I don't mean that in a bad way. When I say it's like a weed, I'm saying put it in your tank and it just grows and spreads all over the place in pretty much any conditions. It won't take long before you'll need to cut it back so you don't lose control. Think about the last time you were at a stream or some kind of body of water where the water is moving. Let's use my brand new pond as an example. What do you see on the rocks in the waterfall and some of the other areas? You see moss. When this moss started to spread in my pond, I was thrilled because my goal with this pond is to have it look as natural as possible. Well, as natural as a pile of rocks in my perfectly flat yard can look. What looks more natural than a rock with moss growing on it? Nothing. The 3 different varieties of Taxiphyllum that Tropica offers are in tissue culture form, which means it's literally grown in a lab. So if you're someone that worries about pests hitchhiking their way into your aquarium, these are guaranteed not to have them. You get a cup that looks like this. Sorry, I don't have one in my hands right now. You take it out, you glue it down to some rocks and stuff like that, and you'll be shocked at how fast it'll spread all over. Oh, and Java moss or Taxiphyllum is not the only plant that Tropica offers in tissue culture form. If you're one of those people that's scared of pests, almost all the plants that we talk about in this video are going to also be available in tissue culture. Liliopsis Resiliences? I think I said that right, but you know what? To keep it easy, let's just call it what everybody else calls it, microsword. This is like planting a lawn in your aquarium. It sends out shoots that are going to sprout into other little grass-like plants. So you put this in your tank and before you know it, the entire bottom of your aquarium is going to be covered. It's not going to do this overnight because it's a pretty slow grower, but believe it or not, there's a lot in this pot. So if you break it up and spread it out, it'll fill in and spread, and before you know it, the whole area will be covered. Like pretty much all the plants we're going to talk about on this list, you don't need a super powerful light or CO2, but also like all the other plants, if you have that, your plants are going to grow much faster and more full. But if you're not in a hurry, just go with what you've got, plant it, and let it do its thing. I really like this plant because it's easier to plant than some of your other ground cover plants. The individual little pieces are larger, so you're not taking your aquascaping tweezers, putting it down into the substrate, and then when you lift it up, it just floats right back up again. That's one of the reasons why I'm not an aquascaper. Plant this in an open area, be patient, let it fill in, and once it does, you might want to trim it back because it could get out of control, and you can make it like a finely manicured lawn if you want to, if you're into that kind of thing. I am excited to talk about this one because I love me some crypts. Cryptocorn or Crypt Pechy, some people like my wife call it Pachycephalus. I don't know who's right, but whatever you call it, this is a really cool plant. If you start looking into crypts, one of the first things you're going to hear is crypts melt when you put them in your tank. I'm not telling you this because I want you to buy plants from me. You can buy them wherever you want. But the truth is, I've never had that problem with Tropica crypts. It's one of the things that completely sold me on Tropica because we put them in the tank, they didn't melt. They just grew. The Pechy is an awesome variety of crypt because it gets really tall with smaller leaves. Now, don't get me wrong, when this plant is full grown, the leaves are big, but they're not as fat and bushy as some of the other crypts. It's more of a long, thin stem with a cute leaf on the end. Most of the time when they come in, they look like this, but we've gotten them before that were really tall. I guess it just all depends on what the farm has and what they send out. Now, I'm not telling you that this plant's going to get so big that it's going to grow way out of your aquarium and make your living room look like Jumanji, but it does get significantly taller than this. You're still not going to want to put it in the very back and bury it behind a bunch of other stuff. Put it towards the middle of your aquarium or even in the front and let it do its thing. Trust me, you're going to love this one. This is one of my favorites. Last year when I was up on stage at Aquashella doing a talk, at the end of it I had a little time left, so I decided to do some Q&A, and a young kid asked me, what is my favorite aquarium plant? And my answer then, and still stands to this day, is Rutala. The reason I love this plant is because it's almost like the goldfish of plants. You can't kill it even if you try. I also had my favorite aquascaper, Jeff Miyake, on my podcast a while back and asked him what his favorite plant is. Guess what he said? So what are your favorites for?
My go-to is Rutala.
Jeff and I both like it because it grows fast, it grows tall, and when it gets too tall, you can trim it back, plant the clippings, and get even more. You can fill a tank with this plant super quick, and you don't have to do anything special at all. It's literally just put it in the water and look out. And not only that, it's a super attractive plant too. It will grow really tall, so tall in fact that it'll just drape over the top edge of your aquarium and it'll kind of flutter across the top. It's just a really cool look. With it getting so tall, I definitely recommend putting it towards the back of the aquarium, and before you know it, it'll be all the way up to the top of the tank. I gotta be honest with you, when I put this list together, I was struggling to figure out which one was gonna be the easiest. This one is a pretty strong competitor for the easiest plant in this hobby. Crypt Wy green, or we're just gonna call it Crypt Wy. Wait a minute, John. I've been in fish keeping a long time, and I know that in the Latin language, if a word ends in II, it's pronounced EI. Yeah, I thought that too, until I met up with my friend Jeff Miyake at the Aquatic Expo in Charlotte. He was there with another gentleman that was like some kind of an expert in the Latin language. I think he had a degree in it or something. And so I started rambling on all of these different words to him. How do you say this? How do you say that? And he said this and some others that I was pronouncing EI. He said, no, it's just E. Okay. Anyway, this is our best-selling crypt, and it totally makes sense. It's bright green, and it eventually has big, fat, fluffy leaves. It's almost the perfect plant. Like a lot of the plants we're talking about, when you're looking at a crypt, you're actually looking at a bunch of plants that are packed together to make one large plant. This is good to know because this means it's easy to separate into several plants and let it fill in. You can do this when you first get the plant, and when it fills in, you can propagate even more from it and basically have an unlimited supply of crypts. Not all plants propagate this way though. Like I said with Rutala, you can cut it off and take that cut off part and just plant that down and it'll form a new plant. Crypts form runners where it goes underneath the surface and a new plant just pops up. When that happens, you can cut that one off, take that plant, put it wherever you want, and like I said, before you know it, you're selling crypts because you've got so many of them. And on that note, here is a super cool trick. When you put these plants in your tank, they fill in, they create new plants, they reproduce like snails do, and you're about to go and aquascape a new tank. Look, don't go buy a bunch of plants. Even though I want you to order plants from me, don't do that. Just go in there, pull plants out that have been created by this original plant, and you can scape an entire tank with free plants from another tank. This is why plants are so popular. I love this about them. Like I said, I want you to order from me, but hey, If I can give you a tip that's going to save you some money, I'm happy to do it. There you go. I look like a hero now. Oh, and this one, just like the Pechy, just plant this towards the middle or the front of your aquarium. You're not going to want it right up on the front glass, but towards the middle or the front. They get big and they spread out, but they're not going to get super tall. Put them in the back of the tank, you'll just never see them. Hygrophila coriambosa compact is another plant that Lisa and I have used in several of our personal tanks, and they've done really well with really no fuss. This plant is awesome because it has big, fat leaves that'll be nice and green, and it won't grow so huge that you'll lose control of it. Because it doesn't get huge, you're going to want this towards the middle of the tank, and it looks really good grouped together in a nice tight group. With so many of our aquarium plants being long and skinny, this one stands out because the leaves are fat and round. It's not a super fast grower, but if you separate the plant into smaller bunches and plant them around the tank, they'll fill in nicely and again give you that nice contrast. I don't like giving out our customers' information, but there is one particular customer I wish I could say her name, because for some reason this customer loves these so much she's ordered like 40 of them. Not all in one sitting. I mean, several orders that total up to like 40. I know what her favorite plant is. Finally, we get to talk about Anubius. Listen, this is one of the most popular plants in the aquarium hobby. We sell a ton of Anubius. In fact, it's kind of a problem because we don't have an unlimited supply of them. So when we get them in, boom, they're sold almost instantly. It's crazy, no matter how many I get. Why do they sell so well? Because this plant is as easy as keeping a plastic plant. When I say keeping Anubius is as easy as keeping plastic plants, I'm not kidding. The only difference is you won't want to plant these in your substrate like you would plastic plants. Anubius is a rhizome plant, which means it prefers to be attached to things like rocks or wood. This can be done with aquascaping glue, or you can just use black thread. The plant will eventually attach itself to the rock or wood and won't need to be held in place, but to get it started, you'll want to use something to keep it from floating away. I don't have a personal preference which one is better. I've used glue and thread and they both worked fine. I've even used nothing at all, but had a nice little crack between the rocks and just kind of jam it in there and it stays. There you go. Anubius aren't picky about their light either. They do really well in lower light situations, so they're great if you want to put them like in a shaded area of your tank or underneath one of the big plants that's kind of providing shade over it. They're going to do fine. Like I said, it's as easy as plastic plants. Like I said before, put some Rutala in the back, put Crypts in the middle, let them fill in, put some Anubius in the front, kind of on the rocks and the driftwood and stuff like that. Before you know it, your friends are going to be coming over looking in your tank saying, wow, that looks like a professional aquascaped it. All right, let's get into another plant that stands out from a mile away. Why does this one stand out? Well, it's simple. It's red. Ludwigia rubin and the next plant we're going to talk about on the list are a perfect way to add some contrast to all the green plants, and you can do it without spending a fortune on high-tech lights and CO2 systems. They're super fast growers and will grow right out of the tank if you let them. And with them being such fast growers, you'll probably find yourself wanting to cut them back in just a matter of a couple of weeks after you get them in, but don't throw those clippings away. You can take those clippings just like Rutala, plant them in the substrate, and have another plant for free. I know I've said that a couple times in this video, but it's important to mention all of the plants that we can do that with. It's like you buy one and you've got an unlimited supply forever. You know what? The next plant we're going to talk about on the list is very similar to Ludwigia rubin, so let's just combine the two. The Ludwigia palustris Super Red is very similar to the rubin in the colors, the way it grows, and the care level, but it looks a little different because the leaves are significantly smaller on this one. The palustris also has thinner stems, so it's almost like a spider web in your tank. A red spider web. Both of these plants are going to get very tall, so you're going to want to put them towards the back of your tank, let them fill in, let them grow up to the top, clip them back, Don't throw those away, plant them. You got a whole bunch of plants at that point, and before you know it, you're going to have so many, you're not going to have anywhere to plant them, so you're going to start giving them away to friends. So not only is your tank going to look cool because it has red in it, but you're also going to be super popular because you're the guy that gives away cool plants. All right, we have reached the number one plant on this list. Now keep in mind, this is my opinion of what are the easiest plants to keep. There's going to be people that are going to say, no way, Anubius is the easiest to keep. And you know what, I'm not going to argue with you because they are super easy. But in my opinion, the easiest plant to keep, the one that I have had the most success with, is this big old plant right here, Bacopa caroliniana. I love this plant for so many different reasons, but the main reason is, just like some of the others on this list, it is as easy to keep as plastic plants. Really no fuss at all. You put it in the tank, it's going to grow big, it's going to grow fast, it's going to grow bold, bright green colors. It's absolutely gorgeous, and this one will grow right out of the tank and just keep on going if you let it. And if it does, it'll sprout little flowers on the out part of the part that's out of the water. It'll sprout little blue flowers, and that's cool too. But this is, in my opinion, an example of the perfect plant. And let me just tell you, I don't do a whole lot of promotion for my plants. I don't talk about plants all that much, and I certainly don't send out emails that say, hey, you should buy this plant. But this is our absolute, without a doubt, number one selling plant on our website. And it's by literally like double. We've sold double the amount of these that we have any other plant in our entire inventory. And it's just because people know they're easy. They're beautiful. Look at this thing. It's gorgeous. It grows fast. It's beautiful. It's green. It's, how many times do I have to say it? I don't even know if I hold it up like this, if it disappears because of the green screen. That might be a mistake, but I can't speak enough about this plant. I love it so much. We sell so much of it. I mean, what else needs to be said? Because it gets so big, you are going to want to put this towards the back of your tank. If you put this on the front, it's just going to eventually spread across the front and you're not going to be able to see anything in your tank. So put it towards the back. Like I said, trim it back if you have to, because it will grow and just keep on growing out of the tank, and your living room will look like Jumanji eventually. So if you want to keep control of that, trim it off when it gets to the top. I mean, you don't have to give it CO2. You don't have to give it super lighting. You just put it in there and let the fish poop and provide it with nutrients, and there you go. Of course, every plant that we've talked about on this list will do better with CO2. Every single one of them will do better with bigger lighting, but you don't have to have it, and that's kind of the point of all of these. But this one in particular, oh boy, it doesn't need any of those things. Put it in the tank, before you know it, it's going to look like a jungle. All right, listen folks, I am certainly not a plant expert, and I'm not trying to present myself as if I am. All I'm telling you is, if I can keep all of the plants that we've talked about on this list today successfully, you can too, because I'm just a big dumb idiot. Again, all of these plants that we've talked about today are available on our website, keepfishkeeping.com. And for those of you that have stayed all the way to the end, I'm going to give you a special little bonus. If you put Tropica in the promo box at checkout on our website, you're going to get 10% off of your order. See, it pays to stay to the end of the video because you get extra little bonuses like that. And hey, how about some extra bonus plants? More easy plants. Well, if you're a channel member, I've got 3 additional plants that I'm going to present to you that are just as easy as all of the other ones that we've talked about here today. So if you're not a channel member yet, click that join button down below, become a member, and you'll get bonus features of every single video that we do on Sundays. So you can't lose. Instead of getting 1 KGTropicals video every Sunday, you get 2 just for being a channel member. Thank you so much for watching this video. I wish you nothing but the best with planting your plants. I used to hate aquarium plants, but now I absolutely love them, and it's thanks to Tropica. I've said it a million times, and I'm going to say it again. If I can keep these plants, you can too. So give them a try. Get 10% off by putting Tropica in the promo box. There you go. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.